Call this meeting to order. Would everybody join me in the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, Mrs. Dawson?
Mayor Report.
Here.
Trustee Connor.
Here.
Trustee Short has been excused. Trustee Ruby.
Here.
Trustee Poirier.
Here.
Deputy Clerk Barcom. Here. And Superintendent Sullivan.
Here. Thank you, Mrs. Dawson.
Fine. That's all right.
Copy, yeah.
Okay.
I believe all the trustees in front of them have our minutes of our organizational meeting, which was dated April 7th, 2003. Would there be any additions or corrections? And if not, could I get a motion and a second to accept these motions as read?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Connor, second. Trustee Poirier, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. At this time, we usually, in our agenda for our new trustees that are here this evening, we have new elected trustee Leon Dupe and trustee Rainey Poirier. At this time, we usually open to the floor to anybody that has petitions, communications, or notices that they would like to address the board with. But apparently at this time there's no one here this evening. We are going to be having a public hearing on our proposed village budget at 7 o'clock this evening. Report of Mayor. I myself want to welcome our new elected trustees to the village board of Champlain. With the new trustees, I'm sure we're going to be bringing new talents to the board, new experience. Again, I just want to welcome them on board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. And for the people out in our general public, as you've probably read in all the papers and what have you, the closing of our little school. The board was gracious enough to go to last Wednesday's meeting. We spoke on behalf of our school. Keep it in the back of your minds, the children are the number one in this community. And I believe we all need to think about that. At this time, the mayor's report is done. We will address some issues as we go along. Report of trustee Connor.
I have a couple items. The first item is the village pickup days for leaves and brush. And I spoke with Superintendent Sullivan. He had some dates that he was looking at, so I'd like to have some discussion on that. Bob, you have the...
I had dates of May 8th and the 9th being an alternative or a carryover day. The 15th for the pickup day and 16th if it carried over. The purpose of that was that I have my maximum amount of people here on Thursdays that are available to my own crew. So, that's why I picked the days.
It looks like the original pickup days were the 7th and 21st.
That was last year.
That was last year, huh? That's right too. Yep. Another trap. I can see your point. I think probably trustee Connor is saying people pick up their debris on the weekend and it'll be sitting around all week.
Well, I guess that's not the issue as much as he was gonna have 2 consecutive weeks. We usually have 2 weeks in between. And I would think, you know, based on weather conditions, I think I'd rather see one towards the end of May as compared to the 2 middle weeks in May. I was looking, if you want to do it on Thursday and Friday, I was looking at the 23rd, 22nd and 23rd for the second week. I know you have somebody gone, but I still think probably we could, even one person gone, do what we've done it before. I just want to see 2 weeks in between, give people a chance, if there was some bad weather or a lot of rain or something, give them a chance to be able to have a little extra time in between. We don't want to have a third one if possible. It's my, and maybe you can bump, you know, if you had something else you were thinking about that week, bump it into the previous week.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't,
So your recommendations would be
The 8th and 9th is fine,
8th and 9th is fine.
and then the 22nd and 23rd is, as long as that meets everybody's approval.
Okay, because see, that would be the 16th. Yeah, that would be a week in between. Well, yeah, it would be 2 weeks, right? But I'm just saying you would have a week in between. What's the position of the board members?
I think it's a good point. If Bob can make it fit into the schedule, I think it's excellent.
I agree.
Okay. Well, I think trustee Connors would like to see it May 8th and 9th, and May 22nd and 23rd.
Right.
And I believe that this board agrees on that.
I mean, I realize that that's the Thursday, Friday prior to Memorial Day. If you see that, you know, you're gonna run into problems, you know.
I'll make changes accordingly.
Right. Because I know we usually try and get the streets cleaned, you know, especially for the parade route and that type of thing prior to that also. So,
Okay, so our pickup days, will be 8th and 9th, 22nd, and 23rd of May. I don't believe I need a motion on that.
and another item that, in discussion with Superintendent Sullivan, he's looking to have his hydrants flushed sometime within the next month or so. I guess we're looking for
We're
dates
looking
on
at
that.
Start on April 20th, run through April 25th. That'll be this month.
Now, that starts on a Sunday? Or
Yes, it
Saturday?
does, Sunday.
Right, because I think we try to do that to try and get rid of the much debris as we can before the big users use it.
Yes.
I think that's what we've been doing that in the past for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine with me, I guess.
Right. He works in the schedule, I think that's where, because I know we usually do it in April and October.
Yeah.
And so I believe your flushing will take place the week of the 20th of April.
Yeah.
20th to 25th.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you, trustee Connor. Trustee Short is not with us this evening. Report, trustee Dookie.
No report at this time.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you will as your feet get wet. Trustee Poirier.
Yeah, I've got just a few things. I'd like to take the board's and the public's attention to 2 individuals. Actually, they're employees of the village. Ron Houston, on one occasion, was asked to clean up the break room and stuff, and he did an exceptional job, and he did it promptly and the whole thing. I know it doesn't sound like much, but being new here and not looking to stir up a lot of dust, He responded very good, and I just want to make a note of that. Also, we've got Steve that works at the wastewater plant. And I was down there not knowing a thing about it and just trying to be slowly educated. From what I found out, he's taken it upon himself to make some charts and graphs. It's not part of his normal duties, but he's done this to monitor better use of the chemicals he uses and that type of thing. Like I say, not really up to speed with it, but having a little bit of mechanical background, I can see where it would really do a good thing. And also, I've introduced a new chart to better monitor the oil use in the back garage here. It's next to the oil drum in the garage, and a notice was put up to all employees that has been placed on the break room door, so they're all aware of it. And what it is, it kind of describes which employee, which date, and what piece of equipment, meaning vehicle or lawnmower, whatever it went into. And mainly just to keep track that if a certain particular vehicle is using a lot of oil, we can catch it, opposed to different operators on different days putting oil into this vehicle. It's harder to track. But I kind of took it upon myself without mentioning to anybody, but just so everybody's knows what's going on. I've seen it done in other places, and I thought it'd be a good application to be done here. And that's pretty much all I've got, being a rookie at this. So.
Well, thank you very much. For being a rookie, I think we expect we're going to really hit it. Thank you very much now. And that's where and I was trying to tell the general public, that's where new faces, new ideas, new experience will only be a plus. Thank you again. Report of clerk treasurer.
I copied you all with the revenue and expenditure reports for the month of March. Any questions? Do you recall?
Excuse me, just one moment, please. I didn't mean to cut in. You will read these and look through them. They're really easy to follow. So it should be a pretty well understanding of actually where our expenditures are running through this year. And Mrs. Dawes would be more than happy to, if there's a question anywhere along.
I've already been looking through it. Matter of fact, Janice's been very cooperative. Just trying to digest it to get a complete understanding is just too much paper right now.
Oh yes.
To digest.
One good thing is that what we do with this when it comes to starting our budget time, we look at the percentages unearned, okay, what's actually hasn't been spent, for that part of the year. We can kind of project somewhat, what we're going to be spending in those different accounts, and it gives us an opportunity to see where we may or may not need to add money to the budget, or we could decrease the budget, and that's a big tool we use. Right. And you can see the percentages, what's remaining in the different accounts. That doesn't mean just because there's a high amount in there, percentage, that it's not going to be used up, but it'll give you some kind of indication. It's a very good tool.
Yeah.
We also did a water billing for the month of January, February, and March, dated April 1st. The water billing was in the amount of $41,750.70. We did a sewer billing of $71,906.11.
How's that fall within what we're projecting?
Look at our handy dandy little chart here. If you look on the very first page of the water fund, this is F2140.
Yeah.
It shows an unearned balance of $44,000.
Yeah.
Well, the just did a billing for $41,750. So we're short by a couple thousand bucks. That's not major.
That's not major.
No. And the sewer's pretty much the same. We have 186. And we billed 72, but of course, some of that's carried over too. But that kind of gives you, we're kind of close on that too.
It gives us a general running of our budget. And as, like I say, as the new trustees come on board, you'll get to understand this. Would there be any other,
Yes, I have one other item. It was determined a little while ago to buy a sander to do the sidewalks, and it was determined that money was going to come out of fund balance,
Right.
general fund balance. So I need a motion to transfer $1,200 from the fund balance A909 to A5142.2 to cover the cost of that sander.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion for transfer, trustee Connor. Second, trustee Duffy. All in favor? Aye.
And that's all I have this evening.
Well, thank you very much. On to report of Superintendent Sullivan.
Do have my work report, I don't know if there's any questions or whatever on what I have written.
I had one question, replace driveway culvert on Prospect Street.
Yes,
It's creating a problem. Is that in reflection to
a letter was,
the stuff I heard about LaFave
yes,
up there?
Item number
Okay.
6 in our correspondence.
Right.
Okay.
Because what was happening was he had new cover put in and hooked to the existing one that was there next door. They were two different sizes and one was lower, I believe, and they shifted and without making a good connection.
Great.
It was backing up through, I believe.
the pipes are actually coming back, they're old concrete pipes.
So that's been remedied now, and that should make a clean sweep all the way down through there now to avert that problem.
We got a couple items under FYIs that
Mm-hmm.
really don't give enough information. I guess
Okay,
they're comments, and I don't know exactly,
which,
It's third one from the bottom. So we have an area on Walnut Street that requires some extensive repairs. Is this the street?
yes, Walnut
Okay.
Street. It's, stretched probably 40 feet wide, and it's just totally, the substructure is totally gone on the
Whereabouts
road.
is this?
It's on the, what you would call the west end of it.
The west end.
Yeah, if you want to call east and west. As it loops around,
Towards the Legion
it'd be
side?
towards the Legion side.
Okay. Is this the area that was brought to our attention last year, or was this a different area?
No, most of the back of that's gone as well. But,
Well, that's only because of the tractor trailer
Right.
there, and it wasn't really made for all that heavy traffic.
theoretically it was, but no, it wasn't. You're right.
Okay, and then the next item to it about what situation was corrected, I guess, that,
Oh, it was a problem that you read up above about a dropped inlet. Not a dropped inlet, a manhole. And kind of a tight situation for the kite.
okay, well, I just didn't know what it referenced, so it's hard.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty good situation. He handled it quite well. So,
Is that the one you were telling me about where he actually did above and beyond his
yeah,
call
he was
duty?
down in
He
the
did
went
a
down
good-
the hole. It was pretty
He
cramped.
did a good job.
Okay. Thank you, Larry.
Right, thanks Larry.
Okay.
Would there be any other questions for Superintendent Sullivan at this time?
I see we have a quote for lawn mowing and trimming.
Yeah, well, somebody approached Larry out in the street and said, you're gonna have him mowed again, and he didn't do anything that, it doesn't reflect the amount of work that needs to be done. in the mowing, so the man's supposed to resubmit it. I don't know if you, we haven't even discussed how we wanna do that this year. Last
Right.
year I used one man on it all summer for a particular purpose. And, I don't know if that's a valid reason to do that this year or not. It's up to you how you wanna, if you wanna contract it or if you
Well, I
wanna
guess
have us do it.
you can give us a proposal of what you would like to see done. And then
Well,
we'll
I can get some more quotes and see
let's-
how I can balance it out.
Right. I think that's what we're looking for right now,
Okay?
because we know we're gonna have that grass cutting season coming.
Oh, it's, yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, it ties one man up all week.
Is it possible to get, what, a couple quotes, 3 quotes?
Yeah, we'll have to
That-
get some more than
Is that
one.
sensible?
Yes.
Right.
Well,
You don't
requires.
think it's cost effective where they're doing it ourselves or something?
Right.
Anything else for Superintendent Sullivan? I'm gonna waiver from my usual agenda. Does Mr. Thibodeau come in after the petitions? I'm going to open this up to, I'm sure you're here for a reason.
I just
Usually-
gonna look at you.
Usually it would be at the end of the meeting, but we have a public hearing on our budget at 7. So, before I go into correspondence, then what would you like to speak to the board about this evening?
On the parking down there, where the old Grand Union building is, why they got no parking signs there?
That was the decision of the board to put that no parking,
Why?
because they didn't want anybody parking there.
The village has problems down there now for parking.
They do.
Don't you think they should even let them park on the tarmac?
Well, I think
You know,
there's,
that's the problem with the village down here, you know, you create all kinds of stuff down there, parks and stuff. People can go on a little, to the park, wherever you wanna call it down there, and sit there and stuff, and there's no place to park. You don't actually have no little parking place.
we do, we have the streets.
Yeah, I don't know, if, we should have to worry about supplying parking place. Most people have driveways,
No, I'm saying for anything goes on,
like,
you know, somebody goes down to the park or something.
You should be able to park right along
park
the
on the side of
road.
the street. And,
Yeah.
in front of the park.
Should be able to park along the street. See, that's it, I don't know what you mean now, because now if you start from your property and put cars all the way down through on both sides of Main Street, how many cars can we put there?
Yeah, but I have seen downtown before, each side being full before too. I have seen that before.
Right.
You just like the tarmac, you should put your parking signs behind the tarmac and let the people park their cars where they want.
Well,
I
I
think-
think we're gonna be tearing that tarmac up, first of all, and making it lawn.
Why?
There's no reason, as far as I'm concerned, and the other board members at the time, to have parking there.
Why tear up something you already got there?
I
don't think we had a need for it.
I think, and just coming into the middle of this and not being up to speed of what's been going on, but I have seen the trucks parked there. And now that you mention it, I have seen the parking signs there. And I think what Mike's coming from is that if we've got that much area and there's tarmac there, and if your future intentions are tearing it up, if a truck is parked there, is there an issue? That I don't know about. And I'm not taking sides, I'm just trying to,
I think
Look at
it
this.
may go back years and years ago, before my time, that there was not supposed to be truck parking in a downtown area, if I remember
the
correctly.
truck parking or truck running? I remember the
Truck
truck
parking.
hotel.
Truck running before.
Oh, it is truck parking.
Truck parking.
We have truck
And well
parking
before my
back
time.
since '86. And we've been lenient enough not to enforce it. We try not to enforce it. It is a law, in fact, in the village of Champlain.
For what reason don't we want trucks in there?
Take up too much area. He's coming down, he's looking for down street parking. You park 2 tractor trailers there, you ain't gonna move for nobody else.
Right? Why, for what reason don't we want parking on the old parking lot? Like, question.
Because I
Obviously,
think-
we don't want
because I
truck
think what-
parking in
I
the
Well,
village.
it's village, I mean, you don't want any kind of liability there, first of all.
Right. See, when it was another landowner's business, we didn't care what they did there.
So it's a liability thing where.
For us now,
Sure,
Right.
for us. And now it's not anybody else's land but ours, so it's a liability for us now. See,
So
when
the
it
li-
used to be trans-bordered, whatever, they're packing off, they used that was
Right.
no problem because that was their business. We couldn't govern that.
The liability of parking on a village street versus a village lot, would there be
Not,
increased
it's not a
liability?
village street.
Like, that's a
It's not.
state street, I'm just saying, we
Right.
have village streets.
Yes, we do.
What's the difference in the liability? Is there any?
Specifically, I'm not sure, but I mean, there's a difference between parking in the street or parking in, on village property.
So,
Alright, that's,
And-
if you got, like Plattsburgh's got parking downtown Plattsburgh, so it still comes up the same.
Who does?
Let's just say for an instant, you're saying, if you park on the street, are you reliable or not? It's the village. Now, Plattsburgh's got parking downtown for cars in a parking lot, who's reliable? So that's what we're trying to get at, you're saying, well, if they park there,
Liable?
you're,
I'm sure they're insured for that, first of all.
you know?
Second of all, it looks like they're gonna get rid of it now anyway. But first of all, it's a law on our books that goes back before any of us have been here.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I told Brent was supposed to be here tonight, but I already told him so you can't park your trailer. But
Yeah.
I talked to him and he says you can park the tractor. So we don't have a problem like that because we had two people in there with trucks downtown. So one moved out.
And I don't think that's the place to be parking tractor trailers.
Well, just a tractor would be parked on the side like it's been
Side,
Beside
in
his
my
in
building.
building.
that driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just.
That's fine with that. Because I had the other family move out because he wanted to stay for a couple weeks, and then a couple weeks, a couple months, there's no time for you to get out because there's too much in the front. So, no, that's basically I wanted to see what's going on here because it seems like you're taking a lot of parking away.
No,
Now,
I don't think it's taking a lot of parking away. I think it's just that we don't want
liability.
parking, well, we don't want parking on, the village property, which it was recommended last year that blacktop be torn up and seeded when the rest of it was seeded, correct?
Yeah, it was.
And, to me, it's not the place, it's not for the village to be supplying parking for tractor trailers.
I'm not just talking about trailer, I'm talking cars too.
Well, cars can park on the sites,
On the street.
I don't think there's that much activity downtown that you're gonna fill it.
Well, when there was activity downtown, I knew somebody had a craft store down there and he didn't have much parking. Every time we go down there to park, it was always full on that
You
side.
might be talking several years ago,
hmm
a long time
I
ago.
already know about it.
Yeah.
There was never no parking.
Because the state moved it up. But the thing of it is, the state moved it up and that's done. I'm gonna have to close the discussion, we got a public hearing at 7 o'clock. If you wanna stay around and get to it after our meeting, we'll go through my meeting and we'll come back. It's not a
It was your
problem.
meeting.
We've got more to our meeting. I just wanted to give you a few minutes before our public hearing. We have our notice, I have to go out of regular session.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to go out of regular session?
So,
I'll second.
Motion to go out of regular session into a closed public hearing on a budget, seconded by trustee Connor, seconded by trustee Duffy. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Before us, we have our tentative 4 budget. It has taken us some time to get to tentative 4 budget. And for our new board members, as you saw, we have our monthly expense list that comes back through. What this budget does is the same budget, same amount of budget that we passed last year, which, last year, we got our tax rate at $4, I think it was $4.91, $4.90.
Number 4, I'm trying to go on that.
$4.90. So, and over this budget process, we did some moving. We had appropriated some of them that were a little bit high. We moved some that were high to some that were low. And the use of our fund balance, we kept our tax rate at $4.90 per thousand. For the new board members that are on board, I think you'll find it's a working budget. Is there anybody from the general public that wants to question our budget? If not, could I get a motion to go back into regular session?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by trustee Connor, seconded by trustee Duffy, all in favor?
Aye.
Now our discussion is over. Could I have a motion to have our budget accepted for our 2003-2004?
I so move.
Moved by trustee Duffy,
Second.
second trustee Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two, I think. Can I move on to correspondence?
Item 1 is correspondence to Governor Pataki and several other officials of the state regarding the education funding for our school, our little school in Champlain, and we have had 5 responses. Item 2 is correspondence from the state comptroller regarding funding for the retirement system. A little bit of an explanation. Item 3 is correspondence regarding the road striping services for the 2003 from the County Highway Department. They asked for a quote by the 24th of March. We just got this on the 14th, so.
I gave them a tentative approval other than,
Where did you, what streets were you talking about?
Elm Street and Church Street only.
Did we do those last year, or they
Yes.
didn't get done? So we're doing them every year?
Yeah, but they do it with a water-based paint now. Doesn't last long.
So what are we looking for cost? Did you, as far as the,
I had it budgeted.
how many miles, or is it really
It's like 2.5, I think.
that much? Are you looking at
Somewhere around 600 bucks.
Looking for center lines and
five,
side
Center
lines?
line, well, yeah, center lines and edge lines.
about $540.
But they do know that we're gonna be using their services.
Yeah, well, I gave them a tentative approval. I said, I'll call you up if it's,
Do you remember specifically what we had in our budget? What you budgeted for that?
no,
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know.
I didn't have that sheet out either.
But what you have budgeted falls into
Into that.
that figure? Okay.
Okay, I always get this after we've done the budget. So for me, it's just a guess.
Normally every year we do church and Elm, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Stop bars at the end of each cross street. Most of the rest really aren't wide enough.
You know, they really aren't wide enough for all our secondary streets, really aren't wide enough
They're
for
just
that.
side streets.
Hey, Mr. Dustin.
Item 4 is correspondence from NICEAG Solutions regarding our electricity supply contract, which has to be renewed.
I see they extended through the 31st, 2004. We hope the savings are what they say they are.
I've been in contact with them trying to get everything done on one bill, so we don't have two separate billings coming in. There's a lot of confusion over which customer numbers are what gets charged where,
Yeah.
trying to get that straightened out.
Well, I see there's a lot of UDC account numbers. I remember I was talking to you already about it.
And they're really not correct.
All right.
And one question, page 2, it says, under sale prices, it says you'll pay an amount equal to the market price plus 45%. Do we know what that is?
The market price varies by the,
Day, week?
yeah,
All right.
By the day?
yeah.
But this is a lot better. Last year, we didn't realize as much as savings. This year,
It was like 240
yeah,
bucks or
this year
something.
it's, you know, $2,000 more than what we saved previously.
Why? Our usage go up? Or the rate, due to the rate
The
probably?
flex rate, see, they made competition, so actually the rate dropped.
Just, doesn't take much with the
Due to a
rate going
rate
up.
decrease more than it is, your savings coming from a rate decrease opposed to...
Actually, if you want to look at it, the kilowatt hours went up, the demand rates went down.
I just looked at that chart today too, well, at one location.
Well,
Yeah, no,
it's the biggest user that we have. Wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
Keep all the aerators
And the
going.
last two, I mean, there's a few spikes in there, right? If I remember right, the last 2 years have kind of, there's a few jumps, but it hasn't been bad.
Well, I think a lot of that's because they've been running generators to kind of offset
Well,
those
that's-
peaks.
use that, gives you peaks.
Well, that is another thing that I addressed while I was down there with the operator, and he says they do, but not as much as I thought. The only time is when there's major infiltration.
When the second set of pumps goes on.
So I guess what I'm getting at is I was under the impression it was a daily or twice a week situation, and it
Oh, no.
isn't. It's only a usage where we hit spikes
Yeah.
in overload
Right.
where it's used. And like I commented earlier about that chart that he's done is a great thing because you can see just exactly from month to month what's going on. And compare it to the other charts with gallons and usage.
Yeah, because the more gallons you infiltrate into the plant, the more
Spikes your
electricity.
demand.
Yeah.
So this has to be signed by someone.
Mayor. We'll decide this one.
I'll have to sign that.
We don't need a motion for that, do we?
No.
Note in the minutes of accepting. Item 5 is notice regarding the water supply energy plans from the New York State Assembly. And Bob has worked on more or less this happened to Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, they're not even up to speed on what we actually had to do.
Item 6 is a letter of request for culvert repair from James O'Fay, which we have already addressed. Item 7 is correspondence from Selective Insurance Company regarding the Paul Couch claim. Item 8 is correspondence from John Kennerman regarding his claim in Selective Insurance Company. Item 9 is notice of claim regarding Danny Schoolhouse at Main Street, Paul Couch. This is one that he sent to the sheriff's company. Another copy. 10 is correspondence and request for a Champlain stamp resolution from Mayor Dan Stewart.
Do we want to act on this? Because they say what's going to be 2006, 400 years. or 2009.
I think that we should, just due to the name of this village here being Champlain, number one, in correspondence or in relationship to Lake Champlain, and also with a future event, from what I understand, a museum type of archive building that Celine Paquette's working on in regards to the history of Champlain.
Yeah.
So it kind of all fits, I would think. I don't know what kind of dollar amount, if any, they're looking for, or just support by a letter?
I think just support by
Just support.
resolution.
Just support by resolution.
I realized this was sent to us, but I would have thought that they would have mentioned
I
the
read-
village of Champlain, and especially near St. Mary's Church, we have the statue
Right,
of,
and it may be something they're not aware of, but if we do get involved in this, I read the whole thing, I didn't see any dollar amounts.
No.
There
No,
usually
there's no
is, you know, and this kind of stuff, but I don't see a reason why we shouldn't get involved in it, at least pump it a little bit to get recognition back for whatever sake we can.
no, and I don't disagree. I think it's something
I think
that
maybe
we should
more
probably
correspondence
pass.
to Mayor Daniel Stewart, to see where we're gonna go with that, and actually the village of Champlain as well.
Also, we need a motion to pass this resolution. We'd like this passed by us and returned to the.
Right.
That's first.
So we need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Poirier,
Second.
trustee Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing our justice court to apply for a grant. Part of the paperwork, something they apply for every year and receive money, but we have to show support. We just need a motion here also.
I'll make a motion.
One question on that, is that grant in addition to what I've seen on the budget?
Yes.
Right.
Does this grant reflect any money in that budget numbers
No.
that we see?
No.
So the money in the budget is above and beyond this dollar amount?
Right.
Do we know what
Do
the
we
dollar
know-
amount is?
That
I
was
don't-
my next
I
question.
don't remember
No,
this.
We don't because it depends on the applicants, it depends on what they apply for.
Do you know what we received last year?
Because last year they reported about 500 and put it towards, they got a fax machine once.
It isn't a big,
It's not a big scale number.
No.
But it helps out. They're
Absolutely.
willing to do it, we just need to give them
Yeah.
support.
I made a motion.
I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
One word, it's usually more bothered to administer these
Yeah,
than
there's
it
a lot of
is
work
to-
involved.
Yes,
yeah.
there is.
Item 12 is a resolution, 12 is a request for a resolution to support the creation of a New York State Veterans Cemetery.
This is to be Plattsburgh.
Yes.
I move on it. Is that the word you use, move?
Second.
Trustee Poirier,
Yeah,
motion?
From what I've read of it, it's actually a good thing.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard something on the news about it.
Seconded by trustee Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's carried.
Item 13 is correspondence from the Advocacy and Resource Center requesting our support.
I, being new at this and not really up to speed with the procedure of the board in previous years, been to the ARC building, completely respect all their efforts and all their tries and whatever. I, at this time, would maybe send them a letter and just make a note that we're not financially able to make a major thing on it this time, and that's my own opinion. I don't know, like I say, what we've done in the past, but I know it's a good center and it's a great thing, but
Well, I don't even know if we're legally, we can.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that'd be my concern more than anything else.
And
Right.
consider it a gift, we can't give a gift.
We can't give a gift. We can't take the taxpayers' money and give it away.
It was still good reading, just so the ARC knows.
Right.
Very informative, thank you.
Yes.
And they do, and they do.
That's right.
They
They
do
do a
good
understand
job.
that we're not in a position to
And I
support
remember
them.
years ago that I totally opposed that being there, but it has no impact on the area at all.
No. It's actually a good, I've been in the facility when it's up and operating, it's a very good setup.
They haven't created any problems at all.
Actually, you hardly even know that they're there.
14 is correspondence from New York State Rural Water Association regarding the awards of their annual contract with in Buffalo.
This again, is this something that we normally attend? This conference? It looks like an invitation to something
Oh,
that
yeah.
that
It's
we're
a-
regularly and,
We get a lot of invitations.
Well, yeah, we go to a lot of these. It's not one that we usually go that far to go to.
does this Superintendent Sullivan, does this look like something we should attend, or is this a
I think if we're
prior?
being given an award, we probably should show up.
Well, being on a regular basis, the way you described it, I said, okay, there's awards given all the time, but due to this nature, it's, these programs aren't normally in an award situation. It's a informative more than award ceremony. This
Yes,
particular
usually
one,
they're an educational,
Right.
Seminars.
Yes.
and what this reflects on is this is something that is in presentation of an award type affair
Right,
based on some records or past experience we've had here.
yes.
Okay.
We have 2 awards here someplace.
Go on for 15 years.
15 years, it's a
We've
long.
been a member of this for
Yeah.
15 years. Oh, the awards for being a member for 15
Yeah,
years?
yeah. They have given us 2 awards previous though.
Without attending?
No.
With attending. So this is an award just to say that we've been a member
We've
for
been- Yeah.
15 years,
Right.
not from above or
Not from us.
performing something that,
We've been supporting them. So. We give them, it's quite a benefit, or quite a, what do you call it, the
vacation?
membership.
Oh, I thought that's
No,
what
it's
you
a
were looking
membership,
for.
no. Also, when we did this vulnerability assessment, they gave us a template to use.
What do we use this New York Rural Water Association for? Do they give us information throughout the year?
Yes, well, and they have.
Legal assistance?
No
anything?
legal assistance.
Just information, like a
yeah.
newsletter,
Well, more than that, they provide classes and stuff.
instructional classes?
Right.
So, anybody has a water license,
That's to attend.
Is affiliated with this?
well, they have to take so many hours per year or per period, to maintain their license.
Right.
Right.
And this is one of the areas that they can take classes through the rural water and get those credits.
Did we ever use these people before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been there for our people to be trained or whatever?
Yes, oh, yes.
They have classes or.
Not necessarily in
seminars.
Buffalo, may have been a closer class.
Right.
Right.
Usually if it's in Lake Placid or someplace like that, we'll generally attend that.
You use them for recertification?
Yes. So part of the recertification credit.
It's like us going to the associations of town
That's
in New
correct.
York.
That's correct.
Right.
To be recertified, you either do it there or you gotta go to Syracuse in the summer.
Right.
Very good.
And that's all there is for correspondence.
Is this something we're gonna do anything with? Is that, are we sending,
No, I don't think we need to contact ours, do we?
Oh, yeah, huh? Oh, you'll have somebody that'll need them.
But I think there's other places to go than this,
Okay.
I would believe.
Fine.
This is, from what I've seen, this is
Pretty,
more of a fun outing kind of thing as compared to,
They-
they do have some sessions, but a lot of it's, dinners and luncheons and golfing and that
Yeah,
type of
that's-
thing where I.
when I've gone, I've never gone to those particular ones.
Right.
those are the ones you should be electing to go to? What's the matter with you?
I don't play golf. If they went to a fishing tournament, yeah, I would probably be interested.
I wonder why you'd say that, Bob.
That's what I spend my time at.
Okay, that's it for our correspondence.
Yes.
Okay, we're on to old business. Anybody have any old business?
I'm too new to be old business.
Alright. Okay, we're on to new business. Anybody have any new business?
I've got a few items. Being new, I've got a lot of new questions. Number one, I've got, what if any concerns does the village have with the new proposed Paquette's historical building on Elm Street? Are we connected with any issues as far as historic material, historian? I know in our budget I've seen something with a historian effect. Are we gonna be, is there any connection involving the village with the local historic
Society?
museum?
No.
This
Where
museum?
is this gonna be? I didn't even
In
know.
the old bank building.
The old bank,
That's the first I heard of it.
right by the bridge, yeah.
I haven't got an application in on it.
See, until anything actually comes into play, it's hearsay. Until we have an application, something actually has to come across the desk.
Okay. Yeah, the application has to be about.
Right.
My question is that, from a conversation I had with her, her engineers are putting things together, so obviously this paperwork will come about. And I didn't know, nor did I think to ask her, because I know we had a historian, something to do with historic in the budget.
The village historian. And
Yeah,
the
Village historian,
Right.
okay. And
Which really,
it doesn't come in play right
No.
now.
no.
So do you suspect we may have something to do with it? As far as, if we have
If
something
we
in the
any-
budget for historic purposes
If
for
we,
this village?
if we
I
have
don't
any-
think
It
so.
wasn't a lot of money, I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was,
If
but
we, no, just, if we have some information that we might want to put into that,
it is a possibility.
Right.
But as far
Information-
as
Information wise,
monetary, means, I don't
No.
know everything at this point.
no, again, we can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We may have
What I'm saying-
informational facts and stuff like that about the village that can be turned over to them, but
Sure.
other than that, making a monetary,
Well, what I'm saying is if we have a village historian or a place for a village historian or funds for historical something, would that may be available for the historic purposes? I don't know, it's just a question.
I don't think there's any dollar value.
I don't think there's any dollar value in this.
Historic with the.
I think it was like $300 or $500.
Was it
I don't
really?
remember, but
We have $100 in there for contractual for the historian.
That's
Right.
it.
okay.
For anything for stamps or whatever they might need,
All right.
copies, but that's,
It was
yeah.
just a question I had, which, just curious.
Right.
Got another, I'd like to do a little research on the existing dam in Perry's Mills regarding to the regenerating of electricity. I know it was something about 15 years ago or so, and
More than that.
More than
more than that, whatever. It's probably dead in the water, don't have a clue. I don't want to insinuate or speculate, but I would like the board's input
Well,
and also opinion on that situation.
I think 2 years ago when I got back on the board, Bob was doing research on that. And he may have some information that you could use or work with him, and I'm more than willing to work with you on that because I think that is something potentially we could do. It's all of the type of thing.
It's the thing of putting the pieces together.
Well, and is it gonna be beneficial? I mean, is it something that's gonna work out to our benefit? And at the time, I think we thought it might, right, Bob?
Right,
A couple years
right.
ago?
But
But I don't know what happened from there. It was kinda.
I haven't really
There's
pursued
a
it
lot.
very much. We had a few years there that you couldn't have made a case for really generating much out of there. There weren't many cubic feet. I've got a lot of data on how many cubic feet per minute or per
Right.
second comes out of there.
Right.
And then find out what type of generating system we actually work in correspondence with.
So I guess my question to the board is everybody think
Oh, yeah,
this
we-
is worth the effort of
Oh,
pursuing.
always
sure,
is.
We
yeah.
always,
Because we've been hitting and missing it, and we've been looking for funding, and it wasn't a real push, but it's been on the back burner. It just
Right.
hasn't been moved up, that's all.
when they tried to do it previously, they wanted to use some old generators that someone had.
Yeah.
Totally inefficient. Uh,
Well, as
There
long
there
as-
are new low-head generators out there today, new, that can run on water power, hydroelectric, that will work. Now, what size and how you go about doing it. Need somebody with some bigger,
Well, as long as we're all
Oh,
in
yeah.
agreement that it's not something dead that I don't know about, if it's something that's possible to look into,
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go ahead and take a few pokes around and see what I can come up with. I'm gonna be introducing some new signs to the thermostat locations in the garage to display a maximum temperature that's not to be exceeded. Is everybody okay with that? Just to remind people, I know a lot of times they go in and geez, we're working on something, let's crank it up. Probably forget, in a hurry to get something done or whatever. Nothing real fancy. This, heat settings are not allowed over 60 degrees as per trustee Poirier, so I'll take the rap if anybody has a problem with it.
Yeah.
Another question I've got, or issue, is there's an old van in the backyard. I'd like to find a new home for it. And maybe, let me see how I worded this. I'm trying to do this right because I know there's a lot of people probably watching. And I'll just read what I wrote, that way I don't mess this up. Old van and backyard, I'd like to find a new home for, and I would be open to accepting bids from the public for a 2-week period if the rest of the board is in agreement or any other opinions. I guess what I'm saying is that there's always a value to something, and just so the public knows, we do have a van here. If everybody's in agreement of moving this piece of property, it's the green one that used to be
we used to use it as a service van.
a service van.
Yeah.
It's a panel van. Looking for bids. Is that in agreement?
Well, I
Is that
think we
something?
may have to publish this in the newspaper, am I correct? Yeah.
Can we do
And-
that?
Yeah, and I think at the same time, we may have some other items we usually every year, Bob does some kind of inventory or the
Look
men,
around, see what.
and see what we have available to
Right.
put in there for, and
I guess what I'm getting at is the auction thing is a good thing, and it's probably was here the last time. So if we could just throw something in the paper, and then we can also round up the auction thing, unless you want to do it all under one letter heading for auction. I don't know what's
We do
involved
seal-
or the
we do a
expense
sealed bid,
involved.
The last time was sealed bid.
Yeah.
Sealed bid,
We've
which
done
is
it
better
almost
yet.
every year.
That's
Yeah.
better yet.
Almost, well, say every other year we've done something of that
Okay.
nature.
Usually list the items, ask for a sealed bid by such and such a date.
That's
And
done
and
deal.
there's usually a time that they can come take a look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what we usually do here. Once a year.
It'll give us a little more room in the backyard and whatever, and
And-
it's been sitting for quite a while. It's not
Mhm.
doing it any good.
Like I said, if Bob wants to see if there's anything else that we can
We'll
also
look
put
around,
in
see
there,
what else is.
we'll do it all at the same time.
Do it all one time, put it all out, one time.
Good, all right. The dump truck that's back there, I guess we have it, it's a good truck, doesn't seem anything wrong with it, Bob?
Which one?
The one without the plow on, it. Use one for plowing,
Right.
and one in the summertime for hauling, or
Right.
whatever. The box is in need of paint. I know we don't have a lot of money to spend, but if weather cooperates, would Bob be able to have someone accomplish this? Because if so, I believe I can get some vinyl graphics at no charge to the village to kind of make it more pleasant appearing.
I think we
Yeah.
painted that 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's not in bad shape, that's what I'm saying. If
Yeah.
we paint it now before the rust gets real serious, and if we can color coordinate the cab with the box, that yellow, there's a yellow kind of paint that just makes everything look cheap.
And that's what's on it.
And that's what's on it. Yeah, I was trying to do this politely.
No,
but
no.
It does, to me, it looks terrible. And I'm thinking that for a cost of a coat of paint and the little rust that's on it, we can polish it easier now than if we wait until it necessarily needs the paint. And for the cost of the paint, I'm not sure, I don't think we're looking at more than 30, 40 bucks a gallon max for a good paint.
Mm-hmm.
And a man's time, weather permitting, and if you have a man that has a day that could do it, you're looking
The way they
at
have
probably
the
a
equipment
day.
to do that, painting.
Yeah, we got it.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds good.
Is
We
there-
have to do it outdoors.
As
It
far as I'm
cannot- cannot be done
concerned,
indoors.
it's PM, it's preventative maintenance that,
Yeah.
shouldn't even come in, you know,
Right.
to play as far as such a minimal cost to do.
Now, I guess the box is what I described, but if we got a little chrome spray paint, do the rims, you know, something like that.
Those are, oh, you want to?
They're Dayton wheels, you know, the
Yeah,
rims.
yeah, they're Dayton wheels.
It, to me, makes such a big difference. And then you've got something that looks,
Okay.
Presentable.
for a can of spray paint, aluminum spray paint, you know. Okay. And I guess the last thing I got here, I'd like to make a policy that new items of the village not to be sold with less than a plus 25% margin above costs. Let me give you an example. Like say a water meter, in special situations where a resident is required to supply their own or needs to be replaced or repaired in an existing meter due to damage not caused by the village, meaning like a freeze, you know, the cap bottoms will break out.
Mm-hmm.
They're give or take $5-10, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
If we could take our cost and get a margin of 25% just due to availability, if we're stocking this stuff, and there is an issue, and the reason why I bring this up is there's also another issue of a park here locally that in that certain application, the village does not provide the meters for that area. We provide one meter to accommodate our normal policy and our normal procedure.
Yeah.
So they're looking to have other meters installed, and I was asked about it, so I'm saying, well, if you're gonna do that and purchase these meters, you really should pay attention and purchase the correct meter, as long as we're reading these meters, match our system.
Oh, sure.
Well, they have
So-
to do that.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, what I'm saying is that if we can get some kind of something in there to cover our overhead and expense and freight charges or whatever, get our costs in a plus 25% margin, I don't think is outrageous to the public.
Well, what would we normally do anyway, Glenn,
Well, we've been doing it at cost.
at cost? So you actually want,
I'd like to see us get our cost, I mean, we've been doing it at cost, I think, because we have it here, and when an order's made, we don't really pay attention to freight because we ordered 5.
yeah.
But in the real world, if you didn't stock it or you were out and a customer came in and you did need to order this part, you've got Bob's time on the phone. Yes, I need this part. What model was it? I'm not sure. Larry, go check this, go check. We've got time involved. So that 25% margin, I don't think is out of line, number one. And number two, the freight may be incurred depending on the part and
On
the
a special
occasion,
order item.
on a
Sure.
special
Higher
order
than
item.
what- Yeah.
So that would fall under our cost of getting it here, and the 25% margin is gonna offset some of our man hours, where Larry isn't chasing out to get a model number, a part number, or Bob isn't on the phone making calls where they could be generating their time to their normal duties or other things.
I guess that's.
Does that sound-
That's fair, as long as legally we can do that.
I would call my copy,
Yes.
to be sure.
I mean, there is
Because-
cost incurred is what I'm saying, it's not, we're a profit, who knows, on something you may come out ahead, the other thing you're
Well-
still gonna lose.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
It's-
what I'm
it's a
looking
gray
at
area.
is, you know, it may be viewed as a profit being, you know, cost plus 25%.
Right.
That's why I think we need a ruling from NICA.
Legal opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, because we gotta watch, there's
There's certain
Certain
areas
things
we
that we
can't,
can go-
we can't step over.
That's right.
The other thing is we can't compete with industry.
Right. No, so we can't be too low. So at cost,
We
you,
can't- At cost, we're doing, that's, what we're doing is at cost, because they are a customer.
that's more than competing with industry.
Oh, I realize
at that
that.
point, so
But
we
when
may
you,
be in arm's
one of the
length
cases you pointed out is something that I tend to try to shy away from, and tell them to go ahead and buy it from a vendor. Don't buy it, don't get it from us.
now. Right.
If we already have an installation in and it breaks, then it's something else.
Right.
We try to stay away from actually selling meters if we can.
Right. For liability purposes?
No,
Warranty purposes?
no, because you're in competition.
What competition?
You're in competition with the vendor
You
because
created a major competition selling at cost because the vendor's gonna be upset, is what you're saying. So you oppose go to the vendor, not here.
Right.
Okay. I'm looking at
The
it from a
same
point of
thing
view.
with tax rate, tax.
Right.
There's
I'm
no
looking at it
tax
from a
charge.
point of view of who do you go to first, your municipality? You know, we need a meter, where do you go to the village office? Yeah, we can steer them away and that's fine, but if we have it here, if we're stocking this stuff, if this is our business, then we can still break even with 25% margin. I don't think is asking a lot. And maybe there is a policy says we're not allowed to get anything, we have to sell 10% below our cost. My point is, the 25% with your time and phone calls is a cost.
Yeah, the only time we really do that is when we would do bottoms or something like that, or a broken water meter.
Mm-hmm.
It was already an installation.
Right,
We try to, that we do it at a cost,
right.
because that's something they've already bought. It's already in there, it's already in the house.
But we furnish
Pre-existing.
that. We furnish it. If it freezes
How
and
it
it
was-
breaks,
They pay for it.
they pay for it, right?
We don't sell meters. No, we don't sell
We
meters.
never have.
No. We'd rather you know,
We never have because of competition.
Yeah, we really can't be in the market.
we cannot be we're not in the retail business.
If it's something that they can't buy, a part
Something
of
that's
the
only,
meter is
yeah, part of a meter.
that we would sell.
But are we technically reselling? I mean, with a profit is my point.
If you make money on it, you are reselling it.
But did you make money is my point. Then that'd be 25, we can use 50%,
Any
use
market.
10%.
Any market is reselling.
So your
You're
time
just-
is worth nothing? You see my point? See where I'm going
No, I
with
know
it?
where you're going.
You see what-
I know where you're
I
going.
don't know, and I'm not
You're
arguing.
mixing business with
the
government,
people who
though, and it
police
doesn't
this,
work all the time.
Whoever it was. Yeah, let's, I think we should find out.
I think that's where we need to go right now.
You
We
know,
actually need to find out what our guidelines are and see what we can institute with those guidelines.
Right.
That's,
Good.
because we have NICOM, and that's what, if we have a
That's what
problem
they're
like
there
this, because what happens is when you're running a village, you're really not a private business, so you can't, some of the policies that go here won't adhere when you're a municipality.
Mhm.
So that's what we've had discussions like this, so we actually
Right.
just go to NICOM and
Get the
find out
answer.
what is legal.
Yep.
And I think this is an issue that needs to be done, and
Good.
we're gonna do that. Mrs. Dawson, would you check on that, please?
When I was first approached on that, that's what I told them to do, was go to a vendor. Tell
Yeah.
you who'll sell them.
Because we're not in competition with any businesses.
Nor do we
Okay.
want to be.
Thank you.
Nor
No.
do we want to be.
No,
But my point is, you see my point.
Yeah.
We
No, I
can beat this to death.
Yes, we can. And first, we'll find out how legal it is for us to do anything.
That's the first thing to do.
Right. Is there
That's-
anything else?
That's it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before I go to our presentation of warrants, we got vouchers, I forgot the vouchers.
oh, yeah.
And I had them all signed, what'd I do with them? I had them all signed.
We also have a water, a letter on a water billing that.
But I haven't really had, we just got it tonight, I haven't really had a chance to see it,
Um,
to read it, and it's actually it's tough to read.
It is.
Oh, Mrs. Dawson has a better breakdown on it.
Maybe a little bit. Oh, I go ahead. Ready, huh?
You know?
Yeah, I didn't see this one.
Which one?
Bobcat, Angle Bro.
It was in.
Should be in there.
I know we spoke about it.
Yeah,
Yes, we had.
right there.
Before us tonight We actually have two purchase requisitions. I spoke to Rainey on this Bobcat and Engelbroom and repairs and parts for our broom for our sweeping. And the grand total comes to $1,339.82. And we have one for Staples Builder typewriter for a sum of $165.47. May I get the approval for these requisitions this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Approval of requisitions, trustee Connor, second, trustee Porter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The one I had was the one that was over here.
May I have, just mention that, like I had it to the minutes, that we'll be collecting water and sewer bills until April 30th. At that point, we will no longer collect them and then go on property taxes. We're noticing it, we'll put it in the paper, just to make you aware.
Okay, then.
That's our
Thank
deadline.
you. We will be collecting water and sewer till April 30th. And after that, if it's not paid, they go on a tax roll.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Tibu, we only got just a little bit more to go, so now it's your turn again.
This is my turn again.
Yeah,
Just one more time.
one more time.
The only question I asked, what else you got in mind down there? What you gonna do with that down there?
Well, I think there's other options that they want to do with it. That again has to be discussed and come up to a board approval. And in all actuality, I don't think any of that has actually, I think there's options that we can move land around. We can probably do it to benefit some people. Some landowners that are there, swap property for property. The stipulation with that is nothing can be built on it. That's one of the stipulations with the CMO, nothing can be built on it.
Is there any more thought about putting a small baseball park there? Little league or something?
Well, I think it was talked at probably putting a little T-ball
Yeah.
back there. I think what needs to be done is a committee needs to be set up to find out what we're actually going to do with some of these parcels of land, and if there's anything that we can actually do with them. Because what happens is, again, if the village has its name on anything, they were talking about a rollerblade park and what have you.
A
The
what?
live
Rollerblade.
rollerblades, you know, the park and the
BMX
sand.
park, for bikes, which adds a big liability.
Well, liability is, see, anything that we adhere our name to has a liability factor. Because what happens is if anybody gets hurt there, boom, the village is sued for it.
Not that you're always gonna collect, it's just a nuisance thing.
Right, it's just it's another avenue. Green property, green grass. I think there's a lot that needs to be answered and a lot that needs to be done before any decisions are made.
What about a small ballpark, the little league?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. But I think we're gonna have to move some property around to make it a feasible piece of land. Some will have to be, I would believe some would have to be given up on one end and somebody would have to give some up on the other end so we could move it around a little bit. Some people would lose some on theirs but gain it on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
It would make probably their land more feasible and exits in and out and what have you. That is a plan that's probably not far from happening.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the legality of it. See, as a board, there's a lot of things that we have to actually find out and see what we can do
You
before
know,
we
you
can do it.
keep on mentioning liability. Perry's Mill's got a small ballpark field.
Yeah.
It's town.
That's the town.
Town.
does.
It's a liability for them, I mean, they.
That's
they-
a
Yeah, but
liability
there ain't
for them.
no, you know, if you're gonna sit there and be worried about liability, I own 180 acres, I'm gonna sit there and get
We
worried
don't
about
have,
getting
you don't
liability.
have a bunch of little kids running around on it.
Yeah, but generally when you've got a small park field, usually, you know,
That's what they're talking about.
you know.
You know where you stand liable? Little kid comes crawling under your fence, under your electric fence, if you have one, you probably do. Goes over and gets by one of your cows, the cow steps on it. You're liable. That's an attractive nuisance.
See, the thing of it is, and I'm not saying that everybody does that.
So what are you
but
gonna do,
we as-
stop living because you got liability problems?
No, we as,
Is that
we
what you
as
gotta
the
do?
board,
Stop living?
we as the board of the village of Champlain have to take consideration of every taxpayer in the village. We have to do the best for them. It's not only for us, but we have to protect the
Let's get back to
village.
this cow bit about the electric fence. Where was the mother with the, watching the kid?
We know that.
You
They
know?
still can sue you.
Well, anybody can sue. Everybody can sue anybody if you
That's
want.
true.
You know what I mean? I drive school bus and they want to sue me every day. You know what I mean?
Well,
Everybody's sue happy. Doesn't mean you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
So what you gonna do? Stand in the corner and say, "Gee, I ain't gonna do this because I
No.
might get sued."
No, they
You
make-
can't. You
it-
can't do
it-
that. Even the village or town can't do that. You know? You gotta live. In other words, I'm not gonna cross that road because I might get hit by that car, but I'm gonna stay here and freeze.
There's some items that might be good,
Yeah.
just so I should read it.
You know, it's,
Yeah,
you
okay.
know, it's an issue on liability of that, but you know,
Well, right now, I don't think there's any plans for it happening right now.
uh-huh.
I think what probably, that's probably
Well, I'm
an
saying,
avenue
is
that
it
may happen.
is it a good idea, or is an avenue might happen, or,
Well, I think it's a good idea.
okay.
We all do. We think it's a good idea. We thought probably having a bike park was a good idea.
Where would the bike park go?
Down on River Street.
River Street,
On River Street?
We wouldn't be able to even get insurance.
we couldn't even, our insurance carrier wouldn't even cover it.
What
What
would
about
be,
people driving their bicycle down the sidewalk?
That's,
Different story?
part of it's their own risk, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to put a big sign, your own risk.
and they do in a lot of parks anyways.
A lot of parks have their own risk.
liability.
But they say that on ski slopes too, and guess what?
They still get
They
sued.
still get sued.
Yeah.
And win.
So,
What is the possibility of, if the village is responsible for that land and owns that land, to lease it to someone who, under certain criteria, we need a bike park here, or we need a ice rink, or whatever is this
As long
something
as
that,
they'll pick up the insurance.
that's what I'm saying. They provide a little bit liability insurance, certificate of insurance, and they have a 1 year or 5 year, whatever, however it unfolds. Is this something, I'm guessing if we want to relieve ourselves of this liability, what other option do you have? Either that or buy the insurance. And if we don't want to babysit it or maintain it, because we don't have the help to do this, do we have that option of saying, are you interested in renting this piece of land? And if you are, this is the criteria you have to meet.
Yeah, well,
We need liability insurance and you have to run bicycles or whatever it may be.
I think if you want somebody has to come to us, approach us, that they would like to do that.
Well, we have to make it available from the approach us. So that's what I'm saying. If this is okay to do, is this an avenue we could take in developing these areas to limit our liability and our time? Nobody's gonna come to us, they don't know. First of all, if we can do this is a question. If we can, then our next step would be to decide what, and then tell the public that it's there for that purpose. Then yes, they would have to come to us.
then this is where we need to go back to NICOM again.
That's right.
We need to go back to our legal advisors and ask us what we can do. Or they can tell us what we can do. We can say to them, is there a chance of us trying to lease property out for a specific purpose?
Yep.
As long as they carry the liability insurance and what have you on it and maintain it. But we need to find that out before we can actually go put that out.
So if we're talking or discussing about what to do, then our first move would be, the only thing we can do is
We have to
go-
find out what we have to do.
Don't your liability, let's say you started something like along the river, don't your liability through the village covers that?
Depends what it is.
Depends what it is.
Let's say you along the river, you wanna put rollerblade. That's a different,
That's a separate rider.
separate rider.
It's a separate rider.
Make things tough, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
It's nothing, you know, it's, yeah. It's,
But if the kid took the rollerblade, went down the sidewalk, and the little sidewalk was poked up and hurt herself, whose fault?
As long
The
as there's
village.
no notice, as long as nobody gave me a notice that there was something that made it dangerous.
It's the same thing.
No, it isn't. One, you're making it available to use it for this. The other is you're using it yourself. And there's,
Right.
So
See,
now
we
the
don't-
sidewalk, if the kid went down the sidewalk with rollerblades, hurts himself, it's not made for that.
yeah, we
like
didn't
you say, to
designate,
walk on.
That's the walk on.
Right.
we didn't designate it for a,
Okay, so if
skating park.
you, alright, so if you go over there, if you made that designated for rollerblading, then you're liable for it.
you're
That's right.
liable for it.
That's the
But see,
difference.
our sidewalk is made
Big
for
difference.
Walking.
That's what it's for.
Alright. Makes it tough then.
Listen, Mayor, I got a few items, if you're done.
I'm done.
With respect to our supervisor, Paquette, that she supplies some information, just information for the board, and I'd like to read a few of them that the public might be interested in. And the first item is good news. This month, sales tax has increased and currently above projections, which is a good thing. The airport terminal plan was proposed by the engineer, but we have requested that they come back with us a couple different options. That for a proposed 7.5 million, we feel that we should get our money's worth. She sent us a list of properties which will be auctioned off June 25th of this year. So that date is a tentative one, so I guess you'd have to be checking newspapers if anyone's interested. Landfill stickers. This is important to everybody. By May 1st, purchases of stickers can only be done at the time you bring your garbage bags to the convenience stations. You can no longer buy whole sheet stickers. They need to be monitored because there has been counterfeit stickers appearing. And the last thing that she has here, that they have to be unable to refinance the existing jail, just due to the way the loan was, or bond was
Initially,
initiated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think that that was something that Mrs. Paquette had supplied to us just for information, and just give it to the public. Thank you.
like the presentation of warrants, payment. Did I get a motion to pay our bills?
So move.
So moved. So moved, trustee Poirier. Second it, trustee Doopy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, could I get a motion for adjournment?
So move again, is that the word you use?
Oh, yeah.
So move.
Could I get a second to that?
You got it.
Motion to adjourn, trustee Poirier, second, trustee Doopy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.